And the only thing that kept me going was the ceremonies in the sweat lodge, in the total darkness. In 1 week, the only problem I had was standing up because my knees were all sitting in one spot. It wasn't no big problem for me. For the person who thinks he was torturing, more problem for him. But for me, it was nothing, because he's overcome this thing. And it's in this way, you are inside, you are in total darkness. Especially if you're from Paris. If you live in Paris, you see all these lights, and all these crazy people running around, and all these funny-looking guys, running around, That's Paris, No offense to Renee. But you see this in the sweat lodge. You see this man who works in the office every day. He comes out here, goes in the sweat lodge. What happens to a kind of person like this, He's coming, he doesn't understand it. And he goes in the sweat lodge in intense heat. And he's supposed to pray, How am I going to pray in here? I can't move, I gotta have my arms straight. If you're Italian, it's hard to pray for an Italian because he throws his arms around all over the place. So you have to be very. It's no degradation towards the Italian people. Indian people do a lot of hand waving too. And we're praying inside, inside the sweat lodge. I find that the harder you pray, the least you feel the heat. And most people who've been going in the sweat lodge, I tell them this, and they said, I don't believe that, That's because you don't want to believe it. Because here come some red hot rocks coming inside and landing in this hole in front of you, and all you're worried about is when the water hits, a piece of rock is going to come flying at me, If they're going to blow up, they will blow up over there where they are being prepared. They're not going to blow up in here. I know there's a kind of a lime rock that does blow up this way. That will stick to your body when it hits you. I haven't used any yet. Thinking about trying it on Guy when he comes to South Dakota. But there is a way, with everything. And you must prepare yourself to laugh all the time. One of the teachings that we have is laughter. Sadness and laughter is together like this. We learn to laugh. Don't take yourself so serious. Or walk around with a long face all the time, being serious, Even maybe one day the Creator said, okay, you're the next holy man. Don't take yourself too serious. So what? So He made you a holy man. One day you will die, they'll put you in the ground, and it'll be the same. He did that to every spiritual teacher of the world. They all died. Where are they today? They're pushing up daisies, right? Pushing up flowers. But Jesus Christ died, so it's a big deal. The whole thing is to laugh at yourself, to learn to laugh. Because in the sweat lodge, many funny things happen. So be prepared to laugh. There are funny people, some serious people become funny people. So if you take yourself too serious and you go in the sweat lodge and somebody laughs at you, it might hurt you. You don't like to be laughed at. And that will hurt you because you did something funny in there. To you were serious, but to all the others it was funny. There are many things that happen that's funny, inside this world. I can tell you many, many things that is happening that is funny during prayer. It's like you've been to many funerals. Every funeral, something funny happens. There's nothing excluded. Every funeral, no matter who dies, something funny happens all the time. What it is they're trying to say, hey, laugh, smile, don't take it serious. When a person dies, he goes on to the spirit world. He's happier. You're the person who's in a sad position. So when you're crying, you're not crying for that person, you're crying for yourself. You're really crying, says, oh, he's gone, So what? He's gone. It's beautiful. Laugh, sing. Be happy that person's gone. Be happy that person taught you many things. And he's gone on. When I die, if somebody cries at my funeral, I'm coming back. Come after you. I want everybody to be happy. During my father's funeral, there was many drunks there, people who drank, because my father was a friend to everybody. Drunks, drug addicts, popes, bishops, presidents, everybody. And they all came during his funeral. I told everybody, don't laugh or don't cry. Be happy. Don't go out there and start laughing. It might take you to the crazy house. So I tell the people, if you laugh, be happy, be a good cheery mood. Just don't cry. So because when you cry, I don't know why people do it. Why people cry at funerals. I have never found a good explanation, why people do cry. Sure, it's hard. All my parents and everybody else, it's hard. But you can go up there on the mountain somewhere and do whatever you want. You can't hide it. Somebody's watching you all the time. The Creator, watches you, whatever you do. That's why we have to have our talks inside of the house. Because mentally we're all thinking the Creator's not watching us, He's right here with us. So we think we hide. It's a mental, psychological thing that we try to hide. And many people cannot pray outside. For some unknown reason, they hate to pray outside. They hate to go out there and hold the services outside, to pray out there. It's better out there. It's hard for people to do that. And they have a problem. We all have some sort of problem of our own.
Il y a des inconnus dans le sweat lodge. Un des inconnus, c'est une question des ions négatifs. C'est une clé scientifique qui arrive de chaleur des pierres mélangées avec l'eau, qui donne une vapeur qui dégage ces ions négatifs. Quand tout le monde est à l'intérieur du sweat lodge, la transpiration conversion, c'est ça, transforme les ions négatifs en ions positifs. J'espère que vous avez mieux compris ça que le
Mais tu l'as très bien.
Okay. Le corps est tranquillisé spirituellement et normalement on arrive à un état très relax. Petit à petit, porte à porte, les choses commencent à passer. Dans le noir et la chaleur, des gens ont souvent peur. Archie a passé en Corée, il était mis dans une sorte de boîte noire où pendant une semaine il ne pouvait pas bouger. Et c'était une manière de le torturer. Mais après ces expériences avec le sweat lodge, ça n'a pas eu cet effet du tout. La seule chose, c'était les douleurs de ces jambes parce qu'il était bloqué dans une position. Mais le sweat lodge l'a donné la possibilité de dépasser cette difficulté. Ils disent que pour la plupart des gens qui vivent dans la grande ville, qui est pleine de lumière, pleine de bruit, pleine de toutes ces choses, entrer dans le sweat lodge, il y a une très grande transformation parce qu'on est dans le noir, dans le silence, etc. Par exemple, l'homme qui sort de son bureau et qui travaille dans une situation qui est très éclairée, etc., tous les jours, il entre dans le sweat lodge. Et l'expérience d'être d'abord dans une situation où il doit prier avec la chaleur et le noir, parfois il se trouve très bloqué. Comme par exemple, on prend un Italien et on attache ses mains et il ne peut pas parler, et il absent ses mains et il ne peut pas parler. C'est un peu la même réaction. Il répète que la chose le plus importante, et une des choses très importantes, c'est le plus intense les prières, le moins on ressent la chaleur. Il n'y a pas un danger que chaque fois il y a des pierres rajoutées, que les pierres vont exploser. Il y a très peu de pierres qui s'explosent, ça juste dégage chaque fois encore de chaleur. Il faut être préparé de rire. La tristesse et la joie vont ensemble. Il ne faut pas prendre les choses trop à sérieux parce que tout le monde, il y a des moments même où les gens peuvent rire à quelque chose qui vous-même vous faites et il ne faut pas prendre ça comme une critique ou une blessure personnelle. Il faut savoir rire à toi-même. Et il y a beaucoup de choses qui parfois sont très drôles, qui se passent dans des conditions comme ça. Et il faut juste rappeler de ne pas être blessé. On parle des enterrements. Il y a toujours, à n'importe l'enterrement, quelque chose de drôle qui arrive. Quand une personne est morte, il continue au monde des esprits. Mais quand tout le monde pleure, ils ne pleurent pas pour la personne qui est morte, mais ils pleurent sur eux-mêmes. Parce qu'en réalité, il faut être heureux pour la personne qui est partie, parce qu'il est parti pour un monde spirituel. Ils disent, quand je meurs, si les gens pleurent, je reviendrai. Quand son père est mort, il y avait tout le monde était là, toutes sortes de personnages très importants. Et il a dit, il faut être heureuse. Il ne faut pas pleurer. Je ne sais pas pourquoi les gens pleurent toujours aux enterrements. Le Créateur, il vous regarde toujours. S'il y a des choses, vous pouvez monter sur la montagne. Il vous voit toujours. Et on ne peut pas se cacher. Donc, souvent les gens croient pour prier, il faut être à l'intérieur. Il y a beaucoup de monde qui trouve très très difficile de faire leur prière à l'extérieur. Mais ça ne change rien. On a un faux sens de protection étant à l'intérieur. Est-ce qu'il y a des questions à poser?
Moi, je voudrais poser une question.
Moi, je voulais demander, la dernière sweat lodge où j'ai été, on avait vu plein de petites lumières blanches dans les pierres qui devenaient très brillantes. De quoi s'agit-il?
In the last sweat lodge that we did, they saw many little lights in the stones were very brilliant. What was that?
You can explain it in many ways. You can explain it sometimes through the rocks, sometimes through the earth, sometimes in different ceremonies. During the Yuipi ceremonies that we have is a room like this with no furniture inside. The real Yuipi ceremony. Nothing is inside here. Not a table, nothing. Those windows are closed, the doors are barred shut so nobody can come inside. And those you see on the rocks fly through the air. But they take a bigger form. And they fly through the air all over the room. You'll see them flying. And don't try to, the moment you reach for one, the holy man knows about it already. So keep your hands down. They come in, and they do the doctoring. The mental doctoring, the spiritual doctoring, the physical doctoring. There are people that from this ceremony, the Yuipi ceremony, there are many people who have been healed from many different sicknesses, in different ways. For me, I was healed by smallpox. I had smallpox, and during this ceremony I was healed. And also chicken pox. I was healed from chicken pox. There were 7 of us boys who had chicken pox. And one night it was all dried out. So depending on how, these rocks, the Yuipi rocks that are coming in, when they start to travel inside, they work with sacred rocks that they use for ceremonies. So primarily there are 5 holy men doing 5 different things. And they don't venture into each other's teachings. So, but once a person becomes a Yuipi man, then he can become a Wayakha, which is a seeker of visions. A Yuipi is the man who works with the rocks, with the sacred rocks, sacred stones. Yuipi, Wayakha, then Wakia, which is the conjurer. Some people know him as a witch doctor. Very dangerous man. He can hurt you very easily. And it doesn't bother him. And you will never get out of the disease that he gives you. No matter what it is. At this time, this man becomes a modern doctor. He only cures for a price. You have to pay a price to be cured from the disease that he gave you. So he becomes a modern doctor. Many modern doctors do the same thing. You go over there and you got a headache and you come back 10 years later, you still got different diseases. In 10 years' time, you took 100 different pills. Keep coming back, and the doctor laughs his way to the bank because he's got all these suckers coming back. That's the way some of them work, the quacks. Then you have the Heoka, the funny man, the medicine man that is backwards. He has the power of the thunder beings. He can change the weather. Right in front of your eyes, he can make good weather come when you had bad weather all the time. Or he can make it rain. Then you have the Pejuta Vichasha, the man of herbs, who works with plants, roots and trees. But he has to have the sacred power to do this. So we have 5 holy men doing different things. Once a person has passed through these 5 stages of life, he doesn't need anything anymore. He becomes what you call Jesus Christ, a prophet. He passed through these 5 stages of life. He can take a glass of water, and no matter what sickness he gives he gives it to you, and you're healed. Or he can touch you on the head and heal you. He becomes about he has lived a life. But to live the life of a holy man sometimes takes 50 years. So most spiritual people that take on this life don't start until they're 75 years old. And so by the time they're 25, they walk this road. And these 5 phases of life that they go through, and then by the time they're 75 and 80, he finally becomes a prophet, and it's time to go to the spirit world. You know? So how can you win? You know, in this life, everybody wins. You must always understand that. But you know, somebody calls you a loser, you know, and right away that's what you think. You know, you're a loser. So it's a mental thing. They play with your brains. You know, so you have to think about positive. And when she gets through, I think we better all go to bed because we have to get up early, and some of you don't get up early enough anyway. You know, so some of you that get up early, like Renee, he gets up early, you know, so he can wake other people up. And I know that Anne wakes up early in the morning, so she can wake up people in the morning. She wakes up Guy every morning, you know, so we can find out who can wake up early around here. So.
Pour répondre à votre question, il y a beaucoup d'explications. Il y a les pierres, il y a la terre. Dans la cérémonie de Depuis, la pièce où ça se passe, c'est complètement vide, sans rien. Et toutes ces petites lumières, en tendance, on a l'impression qu'ils volent dans l'espace. Le moment où vous essayez de les attraper, l'homme sage, il le sait. Mais ces lumières ont le pouvoir de guérir. Archie lui-même était guéri de variole et varicelle dans une cérémonie de Depuis. Tout était séché en 24 heures. Les pierres qui sont utilisées dans cette cérémonie sont sacrées. Il y a 5 hommes qui participent, 5 hommes sacrés qui font 5 choses différentes. Il y a, et je vais essayer de vous expliquer les 5, il y a, you'll help me with the pronunciation, l'homme qui s'appelle Wayatra, qui est le chercheur des visions, Wapia, qui est, on peut appeler le sorcier, on peut dire en français conjuré, qui peuvent faire du mal, ils peuvent même vous donner des maladies où vous ne pouvez plus être guéri, qui rappelle quelque part le médecin moderne, qui vous fait payer pour guérir des maux de tête, et vous retournez pendant 10 ans, il vous donne des médicaments constamment, et ils s'enrichissent. C'est une forme d'escroc à la fin. Il y a le Heoka, qui est une forme de guérison à l'envers.
Le contraire.
Pardon?
Le contraire.
Le contraire.
Ouais.
Okay. Qui peut changer le temps, par exemple, s'il fait beau, il peut faire la pluie et à l'envers. Et il y a le Tahca qui travaille avec les racines et les arbres. Ces 5, chacune fait quelque chose de différent. Une fois un homme passe par ces 5 étapes, il devient comme Jésus-Christ, il peut tous guérir. Sauf pour passer par ces 5 étapes, il faut prendre ça prend environ 50 ans. Donc, par le temps, un homme a fait ce chemin, il a 75, 80 ans, c'est le moment pour aller au monde des esprits. Et ça paraît, ça tourne les choses vers, je crois, l'absurde, mais finalement, On est tous les gagnants, il n'y a pas les gens qui perdent. Et pour demain, il y aura des personnes qui vont vous réveiller sincèrement. Voilà, et on va arrêter.
Aukshilaya cheya yo taku wakamani cheyo ayo Aukshilaya cheya yo wabli greshkawa Shaki Chech Bikho Yakelo Hope Shila Cheyo Taku Wakani Cheyo Ate wa kato e tō pake, e ake a pētu ki le mitoa. O apre ki le wahio taki na wopila chiche e tō rashila. Ui o kupeta ke na wazia taki, ui o himpata ke i tō kahata, ke a wana ria taki a makata ka ui o ishke a pētu ki wopila chiche. Ona wa kantanka makata kantanka kashila wahio taki na mawhia i waka wahi hoa trenshi na tō kashila mishka ki lai. Mochini chui ke a Tanzania le wahio taki na wopila chiche, hei tungashla ucho ki o te hiki. Ampetu ki le wopila chiche o tungashla. O tungashla ushimai. O mlipeshka. O dake asi. See you all of them in the morning. Thursday. Ate wa kantanga kato e tō paki no kaka kama pēpēni. Io kata ki no wazia. Io kata ki tō kaka. Makata raka mushima. Makata kantanga o pēpēni. Chini chui ki a Tanzania o iota. Mushima ki la pōn pētu ki le tōngashila. Muchokan ki o tehe. Muchoni ki no tehe. Makata le tia kahuku ka tōngkalota. When we charge that team, I thought I checked out the Kenya from Kashlata, where I could you traffic to Conan Kaka Street. Vocals at Leno, Traffic, Akashaka, Jackie, Rezakin, Shankel, Mokaka, come joining on each other, Kaki, on a Koshkala, Mikoka, Hiotaka, Koshkala, Hiotaka, Mokaka, can you keep them? Mokaka can wait for free to this to check. Neo Pilana, sound of the gongs makes you understand that man rules the earth. And man rules the earth is always. I don't think there's no need for translation this morning because we're going to just skip through very fast. We have a lot of work to do today. Most don't understand what I'm saying anyway. I'm speaking really slow. So. The sound of human-made things, such as gongs and things like this, makes you believe that humans rule the earth. Man rules the earth. Man is the oppressor. Oppresses the women. Controls the animals. And that's the sound of the gong. Man rules. Just understand it. The ultimate power. The Creator rules the earth and everything within the earth. And sometimes we forget that man is like a grain of sand upon the earth. And the grain of sand together makes the rock. Therefore the rock has more power than a grain of sand. Human is like the grain of sand. I will stop at this time to make sure that the people that are going, your mind is into the things that you're doing, like getting willow. Make sure you take tobacco along. People who are going after rocks, make sure you take tobacco along. You just need to pray for one willow, the first one you take. And after you chop every willow that stands, take the dirt around it that is there and put it upon the willow that you cut. You put dirt on it like this. Every willow you chop, every branch you take, put dirt on it, mud. Put mud on it. So it heals the wound, and the roots can reproduce again, new willows for days to come. So at this time, I think that Renee will be picking people to prepare the land out there. And if there's any questions, then you can pick off your people. And some of the women, if you pick yourselves to, it doesn't have to be all of you. You can take some women to start building tobacco ties. I'll go with the person who's cutting a willow, so you just want to observe, look, make sure you do it right. If you don't, we'll just throw you in a creek. See how you do it. To understand. So I believe at this time you can pick out the people you're going to be with. And you should take some person that knows about it, also some that don't know about it, so you're mixed up. Don't take all people that don't know about it. So. All people that know all about it. They'll ask me to pick out some people that are going to chop willows with. He's the sleep yet.
Les gens qui sont exprimés pour venir, ils se disent voilà, les saules.
Moi, je veux bien.
Il y a 16 perches pour le sol, il y a 4 cercles à prendre, il y a les 4 perches pour l'extrémité, ça fait au minimum 30 pieds de saule. Une trentaine de pieds de saule.
On les femmes solides pour les ramener.
Moi, je veux bien. Mais en principe, les bonnes femmes, elles ne prennent pas les gamins de taille.
Si,
Mais
c'est pas nécessaire. Le béni, c'était pas nécessaire que les femmes soient venues à faire ça, c'est ce qu'on fait. Mais il faut savoir que couper les saules, c'est aller marcher dans la rivière et s'enfoncer les genoux dans l'eau.
il n'y a pas trop de gadou.
Il n'y a pas trop de gadou. Il y a bien du saule blanc.
Non,
Il y a bien là.
tu peux le voir.
Donc, Renee, when yesterday watched it, said, is it white widow? No red widow? No, there is some. Anyway, you can find it and you can see it.
J'ai pas besoin de traduire. La Lénia a souhaité qu'on ne fasse pas de traduction ce matin parce que ce qu'il avait à dire, c'était simplement sur le plan de l'organisation. Et pour couper les saules, c'était bien mettre de la terre sur les enfants.
Oui, mettre la tête de façon à faire cicatriser la plaie qu'on a coupée. C'est autant pour une action biologique que pour une action psychique pour nous. Il faut se souvenir qu'on a coupé. Il faut se souvenir qu'on a fait comme ça, qu'on met de la terre sur le dessus. Pourquoi il a demandé à ce que les femmes fassent les tabacotailles? Parce qu'il y a une correspondance entre différentes tâches par rapport au sexe. Il est important que la femme soit la femme et que l'homme soit l'homme. Aller chercher les saules, c'est comme aller à la chasse. Quelque chose d'identique. Alors, c'est sûr qu'une femme peut chasser, ça peut être une femme chasseresse, une diane, mais bon, il y a des façons rituelles de faire les choses qu'il faut s'accorder avec le sexe que l'on porte.
C'est une façon aussi d'accepter ça.
Donc concrètement, il vaut mieux qu'on fasse autre chose que
Si
des...
tu te sens vraiment venir chez les saules, pourquoi tu te gênes? Bon. Là, on peut partir.
Il a la question.
Donc, les gens qui viennent, on va. Les outils.
Les outils sont
Qui vient m'aider à faire le terrain?
C'est quoi pour le terrain?
Ça m'avait
Ça va vous deux fois. Tu l'as
moi,
fait
ça
sur
ne
le
fait pas. Tu passes le pied, ça devient en épargne avec moi.
René, toi choisis les gens qui restent avec toi.
J'ai encore pas choisi, j'attends.
Non, il y a les pierres, c'est aussi une action féminine.
C'est pareil.
Il faut quelques hommes, hein, parce qu'il y a des trous à creuser. Hein.
Je vais te dire, on fait tout, on se mélange. Bon, je viens pour t'en servir, on a le choix des
Pas 4 hommes.
Oui, on fait.
Ça va. Je viens encore bien. Bon, il y a tout le reste, il faut chercher les pierres.
Qui c'est qui va chercher les pierres? Tu sais?
Non, c'est le terrain.
Françoise, c'est toi qui s'occupe du petit sac de tabac?
Je sais pas, on m'a pas désigné d'office. Oui,
Pardon,
je peux m'en
tu as un petit
occuper.
sac de tabac qui sont...
Je peux m'en occuper.
Tu as du tissu, du fils, du tabac, des ciseaux.
Et oui.
C'est tout. Ah ben ça je veux.
Les architectes sont all the rock people.
As you come with us for the rocks?
Yeah.
Yeah, oh, good. Mensen moeten op
Got 6 hours of sleep, that's enough. More than enough. Sleep a long time, you have a short life. Very short. In years, you have a very short life. Get up early in the mornings, 4 or 5 hours of sleep, have a long life. Experience more in life. Sleep all the time, you become a dreamer. All you can do is dream. Is there any questions I want to ask this morning? Some of the married people who went in the sweat lodge. That was for the women that were there, that is a typical purification ceremony. Meaning that the healing sweat will be longer today. For those of you that have experienced the sweat last night, you can think about it. It's 3 times longer. Even 4 times longer tonight in the sweat lodge. It'll be a long time. So I think that while the women are in there, the men can go after some more rocks. They're going to run out there. We've seen what kind of rocks we need now. They have to get that time. Those of you who haven't seen it, you can go out there and look and see which one that did not crumble. Still in very solid formation. Those are the kind that you have to take. The sweat lodge was not too hot for the women that were there this morning, yesterday, and the men that were in there for the first time. And that's not a hot sweat lodge. A mild sweat lodge. Hot is a lot hotter than this. But after so many months and years of going in the sweat lodge, you're going to find that there are sometimes in the sweat lodge is a lot hotter than it is after 46 years of doing the sweat lodge. I find that each sweat lodge is different. Every one. They're not two alike. Your body feelings, they're not alike. One day 4 rocks is too hot for you. Next day 100 rocks is not hot enough. So your body goes through change every day. And there's no such thing as getting used to the sweat lodge. You never get used to it. It's like jumping out of an airplane. You get scared every time you jump out of an airplane. I'm talking about with a parachute. Tobias jumped without a parachute. Look at him now. You have to understand that in the sweat lodge, the concentration is prayer. And most of us don't know how to pray, so we go in there and we don't pray because we're scared. Because there's hot rocks coming in. You should see them at night. When there's no sun, these rocks are glowing running inside. Daytime, you can't see that. You can see these big red hot rocks coming inside. Some heavy-duty Christians immediately see the devil, That's where their minds are at over there. They're thinking. And the fire is a symbol to us. The fire is the symbol of the sun, the giver of energy. Not as a god and purpose, but as a giver of energy. The sun. Without it, we cannot survive. So we give thanks to that. But in essence, we thank the Creator for creating the sun. We don't worship the sun. There are many Catholics in America who say that the Indians worship the sun. And they say that about the Japanese too. So they worship the sun. That's because they don't understand. When you have a little mind, you cannot expand that mind into spiritual. It always stays small. Because you want it to stay small. You can't. You got to learn from other teachers, not just one teacher. You got to learn from other teachers. And in the end, you will know quite a bit. Not everything, but you will know quite a bit. Some of us grew up reading books. We read books all our life and we know everything. We know everything there is to know because we read 500 books. No one cannot tell us different. We don't go out and experience those things that these people have experienced to write a book. We don't go out and experience that same feeling. So we must go out and experience it and teach it to others. I try to keep my mind as simple as possible and not to get into the field of education. Education is beautiful for people, but it's not good for spiritual people. Education makes a hindrance to people who live in the world of spiritual teaching, understanding. Creates a hindrance to us because it's there. It's the system. It's there. And you're educated into the system. Education doesn't mean that you know everything. Education only means that you know about a system. One certain system. Education doesn't mean that you know something about trees and plants and the earth. When you go in the field of education, you become a biologist. You know everything about plants, but you don't know how to pray. So you go out there and analyze all the leaves. But it doesn't make no difference because you don't know how to pray. Many times we get in discussions among the medicine people. And many of the medicine people, the old people, say that I'm educated because I travel all over the world. They said he's educated, he doesn't know too much. kind of an understatement, but I take it. Many of us that are in the field of spiritual teaching and understanding, we only had a formal education, or the 4th or 5th grade, and that's the extent of it. You don't need to go beyond that. For all our life, we learn and we teach about the ways of the animal, the ways of plants, trees. And when we go in the sweat lodge, we expect many things. We don't know what you expect. We don't know if you expect a miracle. Many people do expect miracles because we live in a world that we don't have patience anymore. We forgot about patience. To be patient. And when you have patience, it works. And when you don't have it, you'll be searching all your life and you will never find it. It's like a bee without the sting that goes and picks the honey. He has no sting, so he just flies from flower to flower and never finds the honey. You must search and look. I'm going to use 64 rocks today, so for the women is for every door there is 8 rocks coming in. The first 4 doors we stop and we come out and we drink some mint tea and we go right back inside. 16. The average is out, I think it's 4, 8, 16 to each time you come out. At the end there's 64 rocks. So I believe it's 4 and 4, each door is 4 rocks. But sometimes I will bring in 8 and don't bring in nothing on the next door. Or sometimes I just put in all 16 doors and 4 quick doors. It depends on the people coming inside. And those rocks, they look small, but when you're in the sweat lodge, they're huge coming in. Especially when they're hot. That's why we wanted to make the sweat lodge bigger. It's a healing ceremony where you need a lot of room. Whereas the regular sweat lodge is small. You don't have too much room. I would think that it'd be nice if we had a canvas that covers the whole thing. Some kind of cover because it's going to rain. Probably rain tonight and tomorrow, so if you want your blankets wet, don't look for a cover. If you want a blanket and you want your blankets dry when you go home tomorrow, find a canvas somewhere. I'm sure there's a canvas somewhere around here. I know this part of the country, there shouldn't be, somebody does have a canvas someplace, If we can find one to cover the whole thing. Not total darkness. We go in at 3 o'clock this afternoon. At 12 o'clock the fire will start. The two guys with no hair are handling the fire, so. It makes it look natural out there.
Est-ce que quelqu'un peut traduire certaines choses comme il a ici, il ne parle pas du tout anglais?
Oui,
Traduis, toi.
j'attendais qu'il arrête. Bon, 4 ou 5 heures de sommeil, ça suffit pour avoir une longue vie. Il a demandé si certains avaient des questions à poser sur l'expérience d'écoute. Aujourd'hui, ça va être 3 à 4 fois plus long. Et pendant que les femmes seront dans la sweat lodge, il suggère que les hommes aillent chercher d'autres roches en choisissant des roches bien compactes. Hier, c'était pas très chaud, c'était assez doux comme sweat lodge. Chaque sweat lodge est de toute façon chaque fois différent. Lame Deer en fait depuis 45 ans et pour lui c'est toujours différent. Quelquefois 4 pierres c'est trop et d'autres fois 100 pierres c'est pas assez pour bien chauffer. C'est la même chose que quand on saute d'un avion en parachute. C'est jamais pareil, on a toujours autant peur. Dans la sweat lodge, la concentration c'est la prière. S'il n'est pas possible de prier, alors on a très peur. Non, plutôt si on a peur. Je ne sais plus dans quel sens.
C'est ça, la première chose.
Si on a peur, on a du mal à prier. C'est ça?
Oui.
On n'arrive pas à prier. D'accord. Et effectivement, quand on voit ces pierres rouges arriver, les travailleurs de force chrétiens, eux, ils pensent que c'est le diable, puisqu'ils sont habitués à ça. Le foyer, c'est le symbole du soleil. Le soleil donne l'énergie. Et nous remercions le Créateur qui a créé le soleil. Cette notion a l'air d'être parfaitement ignorée des chrétiens qui considèrent que les Indiens adorent le soleil. Mais en fait, c'est comme pour tout. Et là, il a fait un grand développement sur la connaissance. Si on ne va pas dehors pour expérimenter, on ne sait rien. Et plus on lit de choses, et plus on est ignorant. Parce qu'on ne retrouve jamais ce qu'on a lu. Et il est très important de garder son esprit le plus simple. L'éducation nous apprend un système, elle ne nous apprend pas la vie. Le biologiste peut passer des années à étudier les arbres et les feuilles. S'il ne sait pas prier, il ne saura pas ce que c'est qu'une plante. Entre eux, ils ont l'habitude de désigner comme éduqués des gens qui n'ont jamais rien appris et comme non éduqués des gens qui ont traversé le monde, voyagé, étudié, etc. Pour les Indiens, 3 à 4 ans d'études suffisent, le reste s'apprend avec les plantes et les animaux. Et pour revenir à la sweat lodge, beaucoup attendent probablement des miracles, mais il est très important d'avoir de la patience, parce que si on n'a pas la patience, on passe toute sa vie à courir après sans jamais l'atteindre. Aujourd'hui, il y aura 64 pierres, mais le nombre de pierres qui rentreront à chaque ouverture de porte dépendra de sa décision elle-même liée aux gens qui seront dans la sweat lodge. Les pierres, quand elles sont rentrées dans la hutte, paraissent énormes quand elles sont rouges. D'autant plus que la hutte est petite. Et il suggère, comme il va très certainement pleuvoir aujourd'hui ou demain, qu'on trouve une bâche. Parce que, sauf si ceux qui ont mis leur couverture sur la sweat lodge sans qu'elle soit mouillée, il vaudra mieux trouver une bâche. Le feu sera allumé à midi et la sweat lodge des femmes commencera à 15h.
Mais c'est une question. Si on lui demande s'il faut boire quelque chose avant la spectacle.
Is it necessary to drink something before getting into the sweat lodge? Or eat?
And not too much drinking, yes, but on the eating, not too much on the eating, because you get sick inside, you drink too much.
Ok, alors boire oui, mais pas trop manger. Parce que sinon on sera un peu pas bien malade à l'intérieur de la sweat lodge.
One thing that on the drinking part we usually have just mint or sage, one of the two. Also, when you come out of the sweat lodge, don't drink no apple juice. No apple juice. Your stomach is very hot, and apple juice ferments inside of your stomach and creates an upset stomach. You'll be in the toilet the rest of the day. I know about, what to drink. Orange juice is about the best thing to drink because of the vitamin C. It's about the only drink that is always helpful. Not to drink too much water after the sweat lodge. This evening, as usual, we should have some soup again. The soup is always light and good to drink after the sweat lodge. So the art of eating what to eat, doing the sweat lodge is always important. Of course, you don't sit down and eat like a German at lunchtime if you're going to sweat at 3. You don't need a full course meal with all the meat, pork chops and all this kind of stuff.
That's right.
You go get very sick inside if you do.
So you don't have to say it no more.
I forgot to tell you, Tobias is not a German for those of you.
I'm Dutch.
It's from Belgium. So.
Bon, dedans vous aurez de la sauge et de la menthe. Mais après, il vous recommande de surtout pas boire de jus de pomme. Parce que c'est très bon le jus de pomme, mais après, pardon. Oui, après la sweat lodge, il ne faut pas boire de jus de pomme.
Avant, oui.
Moi j'ai compris que c'était
Après, parce que l'estomac est très chaud.
Parce que l'estomac est tellement chaud que ça se met à fermenter et là on est dans les toilettes pendant toute la journée. Hey, about apple juice, did you say that we shouldn't drink any before the sweat lodge or also after? After. Après. Pas trop d'eau non plus après la sweat lodge. Et de toute façon, il sera très bon d'avoir une soupe après. Alors, par contre, non, une soupe.
Donc, boire chaud.
Non, mais le meilleur chose à boire, c'est le jus d'orange. Après, si il y en a.
Alors, surtout, il demande de pas manger comme des chancres allemands avant. Parce que Tobias a déjà été très malade. Pas de côte de porc.
I know that it is very hard to concentrate on praying, inside the sweat lodge because the heat that comes at you hot inside. How can you pray when you're suffering? You know, it's that mental attitude. How can you pray when you're suffering? You should pray because you're suffering. You can pray a little bit harder. And you don't have to get carried away and take rosaries inside or something like this. You can pray mentally. When a door opens, you can pray out loud. When the door closes, you pray in silence. Also, when the door closes is the only time the songs are being sung. In the total darkness. Doors are open, usually there's no singing. So, I hope that there are some people that know the songs here. And we made a tape for that. And also some people wrote some in the paper. But I feel that you have to learn it from the song itself. It's very hard to learn from a piece of paper, especially songs. Because there's no tune to a song, just words. So the tune of the song means a lot. And when you write it down on a piece of paper, a song, it loses its contents of the song itself, for the spiritual is in the sound. The spiritual teaching is in the sound, not in the words itself. So if we can understand that, the sound of the song, and what it feels like. You can hear two people sing, and when one person doesn't put the spiritual emphasis in the song, there's nothing to it. He memorized the song through his head, not through his heart, but his head. And he tries to sing, and it doesn't work. Because he's too busy trying to memorize this song as he's singing. You know, how did I say that? You know? Did I say it right? You know? And he completely gets lost in the song. So when you take the song and you bring it, you know, with feeling, you know, like there's no substance to Cheki ayo, aritu ayo. There's no feeling. It's coming out of the brain, you know, just from here, just wavelength. Then you put it deep down inside. Cheki ayo, Cheki ayo, aritu ayo. You go from deep inside, the song comes inside, creating a circle of understanding. Then the prayer comes, and there's feeling to that song. As some old people say, there's more meat to that. You know? There's more substance to that. It's feeling. You have to bring it out from inside. Don't sing from here. If you're a singer, you see people, I used to know many singers. Well, I still do, but there's a friend of mine named Elvis Presley who used to do some singing. He couldn't sing from his heart. So they had to put him in echo chambers all the time. Echo chambers, you know, little chambers that echoes out. You know? And he had to sing in the echo chamber because he couldn't put no emphasis in the songs. So it was the echo chambers that made this man, not the person himself. He can sing spiritual songs pretty good by himself. But when it comes to regular songs, he couldn't do it. So many singers are that way. Good singers can sing from inside with feelings. Those are singers. There's always good feelings with those. You have to learn to sing from inside, bring it out, you know. And also one thing that in the sweat lodge, if you sing, it brings out the anxiety. You've got anxiety, pinned up emotions all inside. You can't let it out. You know, you're just sitting there. You want to say something, hey! You know, just like that, you bring it out, you know, to wake everybody up. You know, it's easier to do it that way. To bring it from inside. So don't say, hey. You know. A goat says that, you know. Hey. Put some meat in. Hey! You know, bring it inside, in here, bring it out. Just, I know the llama probably jumped up right now. I had a long meeting with the llama yesterday. You have to put feelings in the anxiety. You learn a song. That's why we try to teach you a song and teach it to you in the right way. In time, you know, a few years from now, you can take those songs and sing them in French with the same tune. The sound's got to be there. The sound means more. The sound is always there. You have to use that sound. For that is the teaching, is the sound. Not a lot of times, you know, we raise our children and we have a mean voice. They listen to us, you know, because they're threatened, you know. And if you speak to them in kindness, they take advantage of you. You know? That's the way children are. Oh, he's pretty soft. I can get at him. You know? And that's what the children think about you when you speak to them in kindness. You know? They play little games too. So you learn a song, you learn to sing inside the sweat lodge. And you sing it out loud and you let out all the anxiety from inside. That pent up emotion, feelings. And once it comes out, then you relax. But if you hold it inside of you, and you get, you know, very rigid, it's there, it wants to come out, but you don't want to let it come out. You're holding on to it. You know? And yet your body is sweating. And it's cold sweat coming out. Because you don't want to release it. You don't want to relax. So we sing a song, we sing a simple song. There's a lot of simple songs that we have. We try to teach you the simpler songs. You sing a simple song, you sing, you let it out, and you relax. And the circle becomes stronger. But it's like that even on the outside. When you hold those pent-up emotions, you can never create a good circle. Your circle will always break because nobody is relaxed in that circle. You have to all be strong together and learn how to sing together. I don't mean to say you got to go out there and sing every day. Some of you, I don't want to hear singing. You know, you don't carry a, you know. Tobias is one of those guys. You know, he can't carry a tune. You know. Can't even sing bourbon songs. So you have to.
Because I'm Dutch.
You have to sing in the right way in the sweat lodge. You let it out. I'm going to keep emphasizing that. You let it out in the sweat lodge. Just bring it out of your, you know, in the vocal cords. Let it out. And you're going to find it's easier. It gets hot, it doesn't even bother you anymore. You sit there and relax. It bothers me all the time, the heat of the sweat lodge. The only thing that sees me through is the prayer. Through every door, every sweat lodge. And I can make it very hard, but I don't do that. But that's not the teaching. I can make that sweat lodge so hot everybody will leave. There's no point in it. And it becomes a competitive endurance test. How much can you take? We're not there for that. There's some people who try it that way. Try to make it too hot inside. When I make it just enough, I know the weakest person inside the sweat lodge. I watch everybody inside, and when one person is weak, I will gauge the sweat lodge according to that person. Or if a child is inside the sweat lodge, I'm going to gauge the sweat lodge on that child. It's not going to be hot. So we have to look out. We can't make it too hot to hurt children or to hurt people that are not capable of taking much more than another person sitting beside them. But then if you try to abuse that by acting like you're timid and you can't take it and you want to stay, and I know you're doing it on purpose, I can see it right away, I'm going to make it so hot that you do leave. So there's ways to do it too. Over the years of running these ceremonies, I find out weaknesses in everybody. And I can ply on that weakness, or I can raise it to help that person. Because some people like to be weak. You know, all you women that are sitting here right now cannot tell me you're weak. I don't believe it. You know, as a man, I know you're not weak. Maybe physically, you know, you want to prove it to your husband that you're weak. And your husband likes to be macho, you know. Pick up. But what does she do when you leave the house? Take that table and sets it back over there. The women cannot tell me they're weak. I don't know why they're called a weaker sex. Because I know that inside the sweat lodge, they're very strong. Most men don't know that, because we've been told that we're the stronger sex. Man has been told not to cry because you're weak when you cry. Don't cry, you know. You're a sissy if you cry, you know. You've been told that even by your fathers. You know? Don't cry. And in our teachings, we teach our children, boys and girls, to cry. To cry for a man is not a show of weakness, but a show of strength. A man who can cry is strong. And a person who cannot cry and holds it inside, one day he's going to break and he's going to harm somebody. He's going to become violent and physically hurt somebody. So the man must release it too. Learn to cry. It doesn't make you a baby. I'd rather be a baby than an intense man. All tensed up. Become violent. We go through this stage of life. I wish my father told me that when I was young. They never told it to me. So I became a violent man. I've been through the stages of the prisons, through the stages of the nightclubs and bars, and the fighting. I've been through all that. After you go through all that, I hope that you learn from experience from it. You gain experience from what you've learned from that. And then you apply it to your teaching. You know, it's true that the older you get, the more humble you become. It's part of life. When you're young, you're full of vigor. You're full of hatred. You want to strike out at everything. The politics use it. You know that. If you're educated enough, you should know that. The politicians use it to start wars. So they can get all these young guys to go and fight so they can get killed, so they can make more money. That's the way they use it. But if we teach our children today about humbleness and prayer, tomorrow there will be no wars. And learn how to become humble. Learn how to cry for the man. And for the woman to stop standing there waiting, standing beside the door for a man to open the door for you. I've seen a woman standing by the door, wanted me to open the door for her. I went right on through the door and let the door. You know, sometimes they play it a little bit too deep. Sure, I'll open the door for her if she had a handful of packages. I respect the woman in many ways, but the way our sisters have been ostracized by modern society, I don't like. They have been made to be dependent in one way, and those that are smart enough have went the other way, you know, and started to bring out that feeling. Some of them became liberationists. You know, and they ply on the liberation part. And I see it happening everywhere in the world. You see it among the Indian women starting. I see it, the women of all red nation, the counterpart of the American Indian movement, the men part of it. They said, we got to do this, we got to do that, you know, because, you know, they went over there and became part of a liberation group in San Francisco, and they come back and try to do the same thing. And they find out that they have no cause to do it. Because the Indian man holds the woman in the palm of his hand. Everything for her. She's a giver of life, respect and understanding. Now, if man has this all over the world, there wouldn't be no liberation parties. There are many ways you can look at this. But on the spiritual side of this, I know for a fact that the woman in the sweat lodge is a lot stronger than the man. Because the woman knows physical pain. She has children. She bears children, and she knows physical pain. Now, if you put this man who's been sweating for 30 years and this woman for 30 years, and you put them together and make it so hot the men are going to leave, still the man will leave, and the woman will stay. Because they know what pain is all about. Man does not know this pain, physical pain, for he bears no children. He doesn't understand the physical pain. So, a lot of you wives here know that if your husband gets a little scratch on his hand, oh, this hurts, you know, please fix this for me. You know? Sometimes he will play that too, you know, so he can get attention. You know? But sometimes, a lot of times, because I do that too, you know, that's why I'm saying it. You know, no, it's part of life. You know, I'm the biggest chicken there is when it comes to little cut. Yet I can go to the Sundance and get pierced on my back and pull buffalo skulls. So there's a time for everything. There's time, you know, we play that weakness, you know, man does that quite often. Especially those of you that are husbands here. You know, I know the fact that you did that to your wife a lot of times. And your wife will do it, you know, just to humor you along, you know. Okay, you know, good boy, So you go along with it, you know. It feels good. You know? It's being human, I guess you might say. But we know in the sweat lodge, for the years that I've been running sweat lodges for the women, I know how much strength there is. Because there are times when I can become very strong in the sweat lodge, and the women are going right through it. And that gives me a lot of good feeling. Now, if I run that kind of a sweat lodge with the men are not going to take it, they're going to exit. So the women's sweat lodge is a little bit hotter all the time than the men. So the men that are in here, you will know that. Now, don't say that, oh, that sweat lodge was hot. You know? Because you know that the women's sweat lodge is always hotter. It's not because we want it that way, it's because they can endure more. So in this way, and spiritually, physically, the women can endure. And that's why I always say that the women can take a lot more. Of course, there are some women that don't want to take a lot more. They have not had physical pain. They don't understand it.
C'est difficile de se concentrer sur la prière. Et effectivement, comment prier alors qu'on est en train de souffrir au maximum? Et pourtant, il le faut. Quand la porte est ouverte, la prière doit se faire à haute voix, la prière personnelle. Et quand la porte est fermée, elle doit se faire de manière silencieuse. Mais c'est également quand la porte est fermée que les chants communs doivent se chanter. En ce qui concerne le chant, il est extrêmement important de l'apprendre en chantant et non pas dans un livre, parce que l'esprit est dans le son et pas dans les mots. Le chant doit venir de l'intérieur, doit être expulsé de l'intérieur,